Go ahead. Oh, you need to unmute, Bera.
There we go. Uh, Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sheyna Patel's cooking. My name is Reina. I'm her first cousin, and I'd like to introduce her. So she's going to be teaching us a recipe today, and a little bit about her. She's a third-year college student at Cal Poly Pomona, and she has goals of going to law school eventually, but she also does really amazing cooking on the side, and she has her own Instagram, which is linked on the picture. It's shay.cooks if you want to follow that. And she's done a lot of cool partnerships with companies. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Thank you, Rainavan. That was very sweet of you. So if there's like any questions or anything in the chat during the entire thing, Rainavan will see the chat and then just moderate it because I won't be able to monitor as much. So today I'm going to be making pull apart cheesy bread and pink sauce with penne, and it's going to be good. So let's get started. So first you're going to preheat your oven to 350 and just make sure it's preheated before you put your bread in. And today we're using chalal bread. And the main goal of the pull apart bread is to make sure you have a whole loaf. If it's in slices, this won't work. And it could honestly work with any style of bread. I find mine from Trader Joe's. I know this one's kind of hard to find. So if you aren't able to find it, you can go ahead and use sourdough or French bread or whatever you can find at your local grocery store. But as long as it's a whole loaf, that's what matters. So what we're gonna do is open up our bread first. So I have my loaf. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut in diagonals. So then in the inside, we're gonna stuff it with some butter and some seasonings and some cheese. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it up and then show you how I cut it. So I'm cutting in diagonals. Try and go a little bit down in diagonals. And this is a really good bread. So if you have like a party or you need an appetizer just for your family, obviously when it's safe. And it's pretty simple, but it's pretty different at the same time. So it gets people pretty interested. So as you can see right now, I'm basically just cutting in diagonals, but you don't want to make sure you don't want to cut down all the way. You want to cut down just until like almost the bottom of the loaf. And then once you do it one way diagonal, you're going to do it the other way. You want to make sure that you're going almost all the way to the bottom, but not completely to the bottom. So then that way it effectively is able to be stuffed properly. So now that I've cut my bread, you can kind of see how I made it like crisscross and diagonal to the point where like it opens up and you can essentially just pull apart little pieces of bread. And so now we're gonna make the filling. And for the filling, I'm gonna get half a cup of melted butter and then put that over here. And then for the seasonings, I went ahead and did parsley, black peppers, salt, lal merchu, red chili flakes, coriander, and then this could essentially be anything that you want, but this is how I prefer it with this combination. And you're gonna go ahead and add that into the butter, like so. You're gonna mix it up. And then to this, I'm gonna add 2 big tablespoons of ground garlic. And again, like I said, this could really be personal preference. Sometimes I add diced jalapeno as well in here. So it just, it's basically up to you, but this is like a standard go-to that I like to do. And then you go ahead and stir that up. This is by no means healthy, but it's definitely tasty. And then we're gonna add in 2 cups of shredded pepper jack cheese. And this is what's gonna give it that gooey pull apart texture. And the butter is to ensure that it doesn't dry out. So we're gonna go ahead and mix that up. It's gonna get like this thick consistency, but that's okay because once it bakes, it'll all break down together. So now what I'm gonna do after mixing that up is I'm gonna take my baking tray and go ahead and foil it, which is really important. And then you're gonna put your loaf on top and take that filling that you just made and stuff up that bread nice and good. And you wanna make sure you get like every nook and cranny. That's the key to this. It does get a little bit dirty, but it's worth it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just fully stuff it. And there's no really right or wrong way to do this. It's essentially however you prefer it. And I think that's the best part about recipes is when you're able to take someone else's recipe and tailor it to your own. And I already actually have this recipe up on my Instagram. So if you want the details, and I'll also be sharing all the measurements and the details after as well. So you can go ahead and just look at it and go ahead and make it yourself. I've had a few people make it with sourdough loaves and it turned out just as good. But this bread I prefer because it's a little bit buttery and more soft. So it's more fun to like pull apart and you get the bigger effect rather than sourdough. And then you want to make sure when you stuff it, you go both ways. So it does get a little bit messy, but it's all good. And this is like a fun way to like serve your garlic bread so it's not boring. I feel like sometimes garlic bread can get a little bit repetitive or just the same, like it doesn't have any element of like excitement to it, like, ooh, like I'm getting garlic bread with my pasta. So I think doing things like this and like incorporating like pull apart bread and things like that are super cool. And the best part is if you can't find this bread, you can always go to like a local farmer's market and support small businesses, which I really like doing as well. And because a lot of stores don't really sell non-cut loaves, so you would have to go to like a local bakery or Trader Joe's does, I know that. But some like major stores may not be as accessible to you. So I know going to maybe like a farmer's market or a bakery would be a really great idea as well. And you support a small business during this time as well. So. If something rips or if like a piece comes out, it's okay, you can just kind of stick it to it again. It's very pliable because of this paste. So there's no worries. There's no pretty way to do this. I'll put it like that. But it does come out good. So then you just want to make sure you're getting like the diagonal parts as well. I know this was a big hit for my family on Super Bowl Sunday, so that's a good occasion to have it at. Or if you have it like a pasta pizza night. And notice how I'm filling just like any cracks that are left open, because sometimes there is easy to skip over them because you can get every single crack. But just as long as you're getting as much as you can, it will spread, it will incorporate evenly. So all good. And there you go, that's the filling. I know it's not traditional, but it will be good. So once that's done, I'm gonna go ahead and wash my hands. So now the key when baking it is to cover it so that it bakes properly, because if you leave it open, it won't bake as well and it won't get as steamy, melty. So what I'm gonna do is take the foil that I have and just cover it. And I know I don't have enough foil, so I'm gonna go ahead and add another piece. And if you like it a little more tiku and you want more merchu, you can go ahead and just add some serrano, some more lala merchu, whatever you find fit. And then Take the last piece and just cover the top. You don't need to press it too hard, just gently so it doesn't stick to the foil. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the oven for 30 minutes. I'm gonna set my timer on my phone. Okay, I'm gonna start my timer and then go ahead and put it in. You want to try not to put it at the very top, maybe put it in the second row or the bottom. And we'll let that go. Okay, so now we're gonna do our pasta. I know a lot of us like to use the bottle of the ragu or the prego, but that is just after I learned how to make sauce from scratch, I stopped doing that completely. And I get mad at my mom actually when she buys those bottles, because homemade sauce, I feel like a lot of people they get scared, but it's actually very, very easy to make. So let's start with the sauce. And I also have my water over here, just slightly getting warm, but I'm gonna turn that up so it starts to boil. And the key with pasta water, you always wanna salt your bani. So that's the biggest mistake I think a lot of people make, because if you don't put salt in your bani, the actual flavor and starches of pasta don't come out properly. Okay, so to start off the sauce, I do a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of butter. And we're gonna saute our onions and garlic. So here I have I'm gonna put it on medium to high heat, not too high, else it'll burn. So 1 tablespoon of butter, and then we're also gonna add in about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil, and just let it start to sizzle up and get warm. So one of the companies I recently worked with on my Instagram, they were actually a pasta company, and their pasta is made strictly out of chickpeas, out of chana. So it's very high in protein, which I know a lot of us are vegetarian, so sometimes we lack protein. So that's one of my favorite companies to eat pasta from. I can leave a link to that company. It's called Bonza, and everything they're made out of is out of chana and chickpeas. And it tastes exactly like normal pasta, but I'm not going to be using that one today, but I just thought I would share. But it's a very good alternative if you're looking to add in protein if you're a vegetarian. So now this is melting down. Go ahead and make sure the entire bottom part of the pan is coated. See how it's starting to bubble over here? You want to make sure it's not too bubbly and too hard, else the butter will burn and you'll get a weird taste. So what I'm going to do now is add in half of a diced onion, and make sure to dice it as small as you can. And this, we're just going to saute till it's like golden and translucent, so you can see through the onion. So now, since we're making the sauce in this pan, I'm going to grab another saucepan and go ahead and start the vegetables that we're going to add into our pasta. On this pan, we're going to go ahead and just warm up some of the olive oil. And For this, you can honestly use any vegetables that you like. I personally like using onion, bell pepper, and zucchini. Sometimes I add broccoli, but when I do broccoli, I blanch it. So blanching is essentially when you put in boiling water, take it out, put in some ice, and then add it to your pasta. Because sometimes I don't really like the taste of sauteed broccoli, so I like blanching it so it still has that crunch and color. So for the vegetables, we're gonna add in 1 tablespoon of olive oil and let that heat up just a bit. The key with olive oil is you can't let it heat up too much else it starts to get bitter. So these are my pre-cut vegetables. You can leave them pretty big. You don't have to cut them too small because I like getting that bite in your pasta. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that in and start to let that saute up. Like I said, this can essentially be any vegetable that you want. Sometimes I even like putting asparagus in my pasta. A lot of people don't think of that, but it really does add like a good element to it. So we're gonna go ahead and put these veggies on medium to high heat. And then now that the onions are starting to get translucent for the sauce, we're gonna go ahead and add our garlic. And the reason we don't add our garlic in the beginning because garlic cooks really quickly and it burns. So you want to go ahead and let the onion cook a little bit first before adding in the garlic. Else you don't want burnt garlic because that does not taste good. Now for the sauce, we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of garlic and lower the heat a little bit so it doesn't get burnt. I'm going to put that down to like a simmer. And just let the garlic get translucent as well and saute a little bit. And now we're gonna season. The key to Italian food is seasoning, because I know sometimes for us Gujarati people, we like to add a little bit of extra mirchu or just add in stuff of our own flair. But I do honestly love traditional Italian food. So I try and keep it on that realm when I make it. But you can always alter this to whatever your liking is. So for the sauce, we're going to start off obviously with salt and pepper. So for the pepper, we're going to put about 1 tablespoon. If you can, really try and get these. I get ours from Costco, but the fresh ground pepper, it really makes a big difference versus the pre-ground pepper. And I'm going to put about a tablespoon in there. And then same thing with the salt. We like the pink Himalayan salt. You can honestly use any salt you want, but I agree with the same thing that I always say. I always recommend freshly ground seasonings make a huge difference. So I'm also going to add in like a tablespoon of that. And if there's any questions, you can go ahead and just ask me while I'm talking and unmute.
Okay, we have one question in the chat group here, Sheyna. Can pre-cook meat be added to the butter mix?
For the bread?
Yeah.
So I would typically say no, because if you have pre-cooked meat and then you add it back into the oven, it dries it out really quickly. So I personally would say no. If you're gonna do that, I would say put it on the side or add it on the top once it's done. Or maybe for like the last 10 minutes where I have it with the foil uncovered. Because typically when you have pre-cooked meat and then you reheat it again in the oven, it tends to dry it out really quickly. So I wouldn't recommend that.
All right, great, thank you. Another question. Is there an alternative to chickpeas that is high in protein?
Yeah, so there's actually the innovation of today. There's so many different nava like healthy pasta styles. And another one that I actually really like is red lentils. So obviously we eat a lot of lentils in our food. That's part of like big in our culture. So red lentils, and then there's also black bean. I've had edamame. But I would say my favorite type of like alternative pasta is chickpea, because it cooks the same, it has the same texture. The other ones you can kind of tell it's not normal pasta, but it's still good. But I would say out of all of them, the chickpea pasta is the best.
All right. Another question, how much salt do we need to add?
To the pasta sauce?
Yes.
So for the pasta sauce, I put 1 tablespoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of black pepper. And so for that, I'm gonna have all the measurements on my Instagram, and I'll send them out to you, Gaga, so you can put on Facebook. But yeah, so 1 tablespoon each. And then after that, we're also gonna add in a tablespoon of Italian seasoning.
And I think it is as per your taste as well. So, you guys can add as much salt as you like.
Yeah, that's the one
Personal
thing.
preference.
Yeah, salt honestly varies per household. I know
Right.
people are very different with their salt intake. I personally like to do a little bit less salt in my cooking, but it's totally up to you. So what I did is I added this Italian seasoning into the sauce. You can get Italian seasoning blends honestly anywhere. They vary, and every store should have some sort of variation of it. It's essentially just herbs of like rosemary, oregano, and all of that stuff. So yeah. And then I'm also gonna add in a teaspoon of oregano.
All right, one more question. One of the busiest gentlemen, Dr. Atish Patel from Dallas, he's asking, thank you, Atish, by the way, for joining. He's asking if you can tell us how to cut the bread one more time, please.
Yeah, so essentially the bread is gonna be cut diagonally. So it's gonna be a crisscross, like an X in a way. So the way it goes, he goes one way diagonally down from the top to the bottom, and then you flip it, and then you do another way diagonally. So it should just create like X's and like little crevices where you can put all the filling. I hope they answered the question.
Okay, another question. Will you have this recipe on your Instagram?
Yeah, so actually the bread I already have on my Instagram, and I have a variation of this pasta on my Instagram already as well. And I can repost it today as well.
Okay, and also to watching everyone this great event. We are recording this and we will have a YouTube post as well later on, hopefully by tomorrow. And we will share that on SRBS Facebook page as well. Go ahead, Sheyna.
And then also, I know we love seafood food, so I'm gonna put in 1 teaspoon of red chili flakes. You can add in more. This is a preference that I like, but I know it definitely varies just like salt. So now that we've added all our seasonings and the onions and garlic have cooked down for the sauce, we're gonna go ahead and mix that up, make sure it's good. And I'm gonna add in San Marzano whole peeled tomatoes. And I know they're whole tomatoes, don't be frightened, they'll break down. And this is a game changer. If you can't find this brand, any whole peeled tomatoes will work, but this is the key to a really good sauce. So I'm gonna go ahead and just throw that in. As you can see, they're like entire tomatoes, but that's okay, it'll break down. And then we're gonna take our spatula and just start breaking it down a little bit. It will naturally break down by itself too, so there's no need to really worry. Just gonna stir that up. So now the key to this is to cover it with the lid. I also am going to add in 1 sprig of rosemary. Don't break this up or put it in. This is just for flavor. Actually, Italian people don't really use garlic as much as we do. They just put in a whole clove of garlic, and after it's done cooking, they take it out. But you know, we like the garlic. So I'm gonna put in just this 1 sprig of rosemary and just let it cook and cover it with the lid at medium to high heat. And I'm actually gonna switch that. And slowly it will start to break down on its own. So don't worry about the tomatoes being whole. So now we have the vegetables that we're going to use in the pasta. As you can see, I've been just keeping it on low. I haven't seasoned or anything, just so it starts to cook down, and which it has. So what I'm going to do now is season it. It's essentially going to be the same seasonings because the sauce already has so many seasonings. But we're going to do, again, salt and pepper to taste. It's really to like your own liking. And if you have kids, I know another really good way to like sneak in the vegetables is cooking it down like this, putting it into the sauce and then immersion blending it. They won't even notice. The same thing with spinach. So I know that's a really good tip if you have kids. You can do it. I have a bunch of nieces and nephews, so it's all good. That's a good way to sneak it in. Also, if you're iron deficient, like I feel like a lot of us are, just throwing in a bunch of spinach into here, it'll cook down and you won't even be able to tell that there's spinach in there. So now that I've put both salt and pepper, I'm gonna go ahead and add red chili flakes again. The key to this is you season each layer of what we're making. So then at the end, all of those flavors come together. So this one I went a little bit like 1.5 teaspoons because I didn't put as much in the sauce, but I really want the vegetables to have that spice and that kick. And again, this all varies to your taste. You can adjust it. If you don't eat spicy food, you don't have to put it at all. And then you're just gonna let this cook down. I like to kind of get a char so it's a little bit grilled and it has that smokiness aspect to it, so it differs from the pasta and doesn't get lost into it.
Okay, we have one more question, Sheyna. Is there an alternative or healthier substitute for salt? Do you suggest SWA salt or Himalayan salt or black salt?
Yeah, so I actually use the Himalayan pink salt. That's what we use in our house. Also, I'm smashing down the tomatoes because they're cooking. But yeah, in our house, I like to use pink Himalayan salt just because it's a little better for you and just being mindful of what we put in. But honestly, I don't think there's an alternative to salt. If anything, it's like less salt or just like more natural salts like Himalayan salt. But yeah.
All right.
As you can see, the tomatoes are breaking down so easily because once you put the lid on, the heat just like starts to break it down naturally. Okay, so now this is my personal trick. It's not very traditional, but it's something I like to add because it creates a depth of flavor in a short amount of time. And I know a lot of marinara sauces, people traditionally let it cook for a couple of hours, which we obviously don't have. So I'm gonna add in just a splash of balsamic vinegar, and this creates that richness and depth that takes it to another level. It's literally just a pinch. That's it. So about like a teaspoon. We're gonna go ahead and stir that in. And because we have so much like acid from the tomatoes and the balsamic vinegar, I'm also gonna add in a tablespoon of sugar. And especially if you have like acid reflux or anything like that, you have to add some sugar, else this will be a little bit too acidic for you. So I go ahead and add in a tablespoon of sugar. I'm just gonna break that down some more and stir it up. And see how easy and like you don't really have to keep stirring it. You just let it simmer. So I definitely recommend doing this over buying bottled pasta because it makes a huge difference. So now I'm gonna start stirring my vegetables. Yeah, see now they're getting nice and hard. The trick to this is you don't wanna keep stirring it. You wanna let it sit on one side for a little bit so that it gets that nice char taste and then flip it. So just letting it sit, not touching it, which I know can be hard at times. We have a tendency to just stand and stir, but really letting it sit and crisp up on its own is the key to getting these vegetables like nice and grilled. So while that's cooking, I have my pasta water going. And the key to pasta water, like I mentioned, is to salt it. It's super important, and I feel like a lot of people miss this step, but it makes a huge difference. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in some salt. This doesn't really have a measurement. It's just you eyeball it for the amount of water that you have. I'm gonna make sure that's nice and boiling. Pasta. So today I'm using penne, but you can really use anything that you want. This recipe works for like linguine, fettuccine, rigatoni, but I like penne. It's the most versatile. Everybody likes penne. I feel like you can't really go wrong with it. Go ahead and pour in about like 2 cups of pasta. Like I said earlier, you can definitely use chickpea pasta, any pasta that you like. I'm just using regular today because it's the most accessible. A good place is to find the chickpea pasta. You can even find it online. You can get at Target. I don't even know, Ralph's and a bunch of stores are starting to sell it. So it's pretty easy to find if you want to try it out. Go ahead and stir up the vegetable a little more. And then now for the pasta, we're going to go ahead and add in some heavy cream. So this is what's going to make it pink. I know a lot of people tend to use Alfredo sauce and stuff like that, but I don't like mixing it. And traditionally you use heavy cream. It's a little bit right there. So just heavy whipping cream, pretty standard in making pink sauce. And this is going to give it that creamy texture and that rich flavor. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and add in half a cup of the heavy cream. Go ahead and pour that in. And then stir it up. See how it's slowly turning that pink color that we like? That's perfect. And the thing about this, I feel like because we use like canned tomatoes and not the sauces, it's a lot more lighter and like natural tasting, where it's not like heavy and doesn't go through the process. And it really, this sauce, you can keep it in the fridge and it can last about a week. So you can use it for anything. Even if you want to make like pizza, you can use the same sort of sauce, anything you want to do. A good tip that I like to do is I like to make naan pizza. So if you have like leftover naan or frozen naan, you heat that up, you put the tomato sauce and just any toppings you want, and you're good. So now you can see right here, the vegetables are like nice and blistered. I'm just gonna add it directly into the sauce. Now I'm just gonna stir that in. And make sure to stir your pasta as well so it doesn't stick to the bottom. They know that's something, if you just let it go and don't stir it, it sticks to the bottom and it doesn't get any better from there. Go ahead and stir in your veggies. Also need to turn off the flame. So with cooking in general, I know not everybody loves cooking, which is completely okay. Some people just need to get it done and get it through the week. So I think this recipe is really good for meal prepping, or if you go to work and you just need to have something done. I know when I was at school and college, I would just make a big pot of this and then I would keep it in the fridge for the week and just have it whenever I wanted. And it lasted about 1 to 2 weeks. So that's also a good way to do it. And now that I've added my vegetables, I'm gonna go ahead and take out that sprig of rosemary that I put in, because we only wanted that for flavor of the sauce. We don't need it for the entire time. So yeah, now I'm gonna let this simmer. I'm gonna cover it with the lid again. I gradually always stir my pasta. And I can answer a few more questions right now, if there are any.
There are no questions at this point, but a lot of good compliments on Facebook and on Zoom session here.
Oh, thank you so much. So I guess I can talk a little bit more about like me. So I've always liked cooking. My family has this joke that whenever I have the remote, I put it on Food Network. So they never give me the remote because I love watching like Bobby Flay and all of those sort of shows. And I know there's also one on the ZTV network, like Kana Kazana. He's also fun to watch. So there's also a bunch of shows that I like to watch, and that's really how I learn. Obviously, my mom helped me learn from the beginning, like the initial stuff, like how to chop properly, what to use. But going forward, I just started experimenting. I think a lot of people just want, like you have to find your own like flavor profiles that work for you and then go from there. Oh, I see. People are wondering if for future Zooms you could post a recipe online before. Yeah. So honestly, right now, if you go to my Instagram, I have all the recipes in the description. So if you want to copy and paste it into the chat, you can. So people have access to it as well. But yeah. So now that this has been cooking for a while, you can see it's nice and bubbly. So I'm going to go ahead and lower it a little bit. And I would say the key to Italian food and sauces is herbs. So I'm going to go ahead and add in 10 to 12 pieces of basil. I know it sounds like a lot, but trust me, it'll cook down. And I think the key to basil, I read this, I'm not sure if it's 100% true, but if you rip it, instead of chopping it, it has more flavor. Don't know if this is fully true, but I still do it and I go by it. And you just want to go ahead and rip it. Size doesn't matter, it will cook down. So honestly, the bigger, the better it tastes in the bite. I'm just ripping it. And you can also do this with spinach at the end. And you won't even tell the difference of that there's spinach in there. So I know this is a really good recipe for like kids to sneak in the spinach. And always make sure to wash your spinach like really well and like soak it beforehand. Because I know a lot of the time spinach can have like still some like little bugs and stuff because it is a plant, like it's a herb. So I think a lot of people often just like, oh, it's just basil. So making sure that you soak it, like properly wash it, you'll see all the stuff come out of it. So it's super important that you do that. So as you can see, I just ripped up the basil. Then you go ahead and stir it. Then go ahead and cover it again. Oh, wrong one. And then cover it with this lid again. And make sure you're stirring the pasta as well. It's almost done. And the key to the pasta, whatever the package says, mine says 9 to 10 minutes, you want to cook it till it's al dente. So al dente means that it's like almost all the way done, but it still has like a few minutes. But the thing with pasta, I think a lot of people make this mistake. When you're cooking pasta, you want to put the pasta directly from the pot that it's cooking in into the sauce. So when you strain it or like you let it sit outside for a little bit, it gets stuck to one another and it doesn't work as well. The starch just like conforms to it. So I think a great tip is getting a spoon like this where there's holes at the bottom. So that way when you take the pasta, you can take it directly from your pot into the pan with the sauce. Because otherwise it does get a little bit stuck and it's not the same consistency. So I forgot to mention, don't throw away your sauce can because we're going to take about 1/4 of a cup of the pasta water. And this is what also helps the pasta cook through. And we're going to put it directly into our sauce. Because remember how I said to put the salt and it gets that starches out. So you get that pasta water, you swivel it around so you're not wasting any sauce. And then you put it directly into your pasta sauce. And then that way, when we add in our pasta when it's al dente, it'll help cook it with the starch and everything will conform. Okay, so it's been 30 minutes of our bread. I almost forgot we had bread, but we have bread. So I'm gonna take it out and just take off the foil part of the top foil part of the bread. I'm just gonna pull it out to show everyone. So this is what it kind of looks like. It's kind of hard to show. And so I'm gonna put it back in and let it cook uncovered for about 10 more minutes. And that way the pasta will almost be done and everything will be ready at the same time. I'm gonna push it in. So all I did was take off that third piece of foil that I had put on top of the bread. Don't take off the bottom parts, just the top part. So then that way the cheese can get a little bit more gooey on the top. And so let me check the pasta. See if it's fully done. So the way to check if pasta is done completely is to take out one piece, and if you're able to cut through it without hesitation, it's done, which I was able to do with this pasta. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the lid and place the pasta directly into the sauce. This is a little bit tedious, but trust me, it changes how it goes. And if there's a little bit of bani that comes into the sauce, it's okay. It'll cook off. So there's no need to worry about that. And while you're doing this, the pasta will continue to cook. So make sure to just turn off your heat of the pasta back there. This is another trick that I had learned from Food Network. So we're gonna go ahead and stir that up. And I think the biggest mistake another people make is that when you cook your sauce, you just put it on top of like boiled pasta. No, the best way to do pasta is when you mix it all together and then serve it, because penne has ridges. So within the pasta, when they're making it, they have like little lines and crevices. And that way the sauce really gets into those holes and really gets coated properly. Otherwise, you won't really have that nice, like the potential flavor that you could have. Yes. Turn up the heat again. So once you have the pasta, you just want to turn up the heat again a bit. And so that way the sauce can thicken, because we did add the pasta water, which thins it out a bit. So just put on your lid, let it cook for a little bit. And then I have a little bit of extra pasta. So I'm going to go ahead and that right there. Because I did cook a bit too much. So yeah, is there any more questions or anything about the pasta or the sauce I could answer?
There's no more question, but once again, a lot of compliments still.
Thank you, thank you. And then once it's together, this is such an easy lunch. I feel like if you have like guests coming over or you think, I don't know what they want to eat, I feel like pasta and bread is a very easy dish to get everyone to be able to eat. And it's full of vegetables, full of flavor. So yeah, this is a great entertaining dish, just a weak dish for meal prep, very versatile, which I feel like a lot of my dishes are.
Okay, one more question. Will there be a more session with you in future? Maybe you can answer that.
Maybe if people want it, I can.
Definitely. I mean, they're asking for it, so we have to bring you once again, I guess. Definitely.
Yeah, we can. And then next time I'll have all the ingredients listed a couple days before, so that
Right.
we can do it like a cook together type of thing.
And we have shared her Instagram page link right here on the chat and on Facebook. So please visit her page, follow her Instagram to learn more about her, cookings and recipe. And we definitely will bring her again as you all asked for it. So
So I don't know if you can tell too much, but as you can see, the pasta did expand a little bit compared to when I put it in. And that's because, like I had said, it cooks in the pasta sauce as well, which I think is a mistake a lot of people make. So cooking it within the pasta sauce as well really elevates the flavor and makes the pasta cook through. So it has that nice bite, but it's not got you. So I'm just gonna let it simmer, got a lid. And then, this is my favorite part because I love cheese. I'm gonna add in fresh Parmesan. So this is one of my biggest things that I advocate for. Getting a fresh block of Parmesan versus that Kraft bottle or the fake Parmesan cheese that you put on top of your pizza. I think this makes a huge difference. And then using a micro shredder instead of just your normal shredder, the micro ones, or like even a zester works, and just going on top of it. And I do about 1/4 of a cup, but you can do to your pleasure. Like at Olive Garden, tell me when to stop. You can do the same sort of thing. It's really just up to you. And you just want to go ahead and shred it on top. And then this way, instead of using like mozzarella or something heavy, this still gives that cheesy flavor with a light feeling. So I think that's like the amazing thing about making all this from scratch is that you use like natural ingredients and like good ingredients. And so you don't feel heavy or lethargic after you eat it. And you can get this essentially anywhere. I've seen it at Costco, I've seen it at Trader Joe's, I've seen it at Ralph's. It is a little bit more pricier than like, say the stuff you put on pizza or Kraft, but it's definitely worth it. And it lasts a very long time. So that's good as well. But that's has to be one of my favorite parts of making pasta, adding the cheese at the end.
okay, one more question. Would you please share brand of your Parmesan cheese, please?
So I get it from Trader Joe's. I don't have the exact brand, but it's called Parmigiano Reggiano. So it's, you can honestly find it at any grocery store you go to, and you go to the cheese section and they should have a block of it. It looks kind of like it's hard, and it has like this rind on the back, and it looks like this on the front. So I don't have a specific brand that I use, but I do get mine from Trader Joe's, but I know a bunch of grocery stores have it. And that is definitely my key when you're doing pasta instead of like mozzarella, because also mozzarella, when you put it on top, it gets like gooey and like, which is good when you bake it. You with this pasta, also after you're done, you can line it with a baking tray, top it with some mozzarella, and then bake it for about 10 minutes at 350. And that gets like that nice like baked ziti sort of taste. So yeah. And now I'm gonna move this aside. Our pasta's done cooking. Now I'm gonna take out the bread because it's been another 10 minutes without the foil. And this is how it looks. Let me go ahead, put the foil down. I'm going to go ahead and point the camera a little bit more towards here. So I don't know if you can tell. I'm going to try to move it a little bit. But this is how the bread is looking. This is how it's supposed to look when it's done. See how it's all nice and melted in between, and all the garlic and all the seasonings are cooked. And the fun part about this bread, which is really fun to serve like when you're in a group of people, is that it's a pull-apart bread. So remember how I had cut it in diagonals? So this is why I had cut it, because everybody can get their own individual piece of bread. And it looks like this when you take it out. And it has all the cheese and the garlic and the gooiness of it. And it's super good. So yeah, that's everything. That's the pull-apart bread. That's the pasta. I'll do one more pull because I don't know if I got that one well on camera. So you basically take any of the squares that we made from the diagonal. And there you are. That's your pull-apart cheesy garlic bread. Yeah, so that's everything. Everything's done cooking. So now you can just enjoy.
No, I don't think this will be enough for about 80 people watching. So you got to make some more, I guess. All right, guys, any questions for her regarding the recipe? Well, still not, I guess. So, but this is making me hungry for sure, I guess, just looking at it. Someday I hope to visit you in LA and, try to test it.
Sure. So
Also, everyone watching, please, if you make this recipe, post it on your social media and tag her, that way she can see. And you can also direct message her for any concerned questions you have regarding the recipe or ingredients, what to use or what not to use. And she can always answer it for you.
mhm. Yeah, so feel free to check out my Instagram. You can message me. You can also message me on Facebook. I'm a part of all those Facebook Indian air fryer groups and all those groups. So you can find me wherever, the vegan Costco mom groups. So I'm in literally every Facebook food group you can think of. So I'll have my Instagram and my Facebook. And yeah.
Right, any more questions, guys? Rihanna?
No, I don't have any more questions, but very good job.
Thank you. She's the number one my eater. Whenever I make something, she's like, I'll try it. I'll eat it. So she's always there.
Yep,
All right,
she's a
well,
very
thank
good
you.
cook.
Well, this was very quick and easy. I think less than 50 minutes. I think anyone can make it today, even though if it's late in the afternoon, for dinner, I guess.
Yeah,
so please
exactly.
try that.
Yeah, that's what I try and aim for a lot of my meals, because I know sometimes not everyone likes cooking. Sometimes it's a chore for them. They don't really love doing it, but like you have to eat. So quick and easy, flavorful meals is really what I go for on my Instagram and what I like to share. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Sheyna. Thank you for the wonderful recipe and your time, of course. And this is something new we started, and we're getting a lot of good feedback. So hopefully we'll bring you back, as a lot of people asked here today on social media, definitely. And we will let everyone know, when she's coming back next. So thank you all for joining. I have a few announcements, and then we will end this session. I'm Gabi, guys. Thank you all. Thank you for joining and your valuable time, of course, on a Saturday afternoon. First of all, thank you, Sheyna, Reina. You both, did very well, great job, from start to finish, of course. And it was on such a short notice. So I'm so proud of you, as Bhakta youth, and we love to have you once again in future. Special thanks to Smita Ben and Ashwin Bhai. As a parent, we all teach everything good to our kids. Cooking is not a priority for many youngsters, but now that we are bringing, her, and we had Priya last week. Those are the great example for our Bhakta community, and a lot of youngsters are, getting into the cooking as well. So thank you all, Aswin Bhai once again, and Asmita Ben. Once again, visit our Instagram page. We have shared the link here. And Smita Ben, do you want to say something? Smita Ben, you can unmute.
Ram Kabir, everyone. I just wanted to thank SRBS of USA for giving Sheyna the opportunity to cook along with you guys, and hope you enjoyed it. This was her first time, so she can do more future cooking. She has lots of great ideas. They're not traditional Gujarati recipes, but they're quick and easy recipes like today. So again, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Smita Ben. All right, so let's make a few announcements. Okay, tomorrow we'll have a Kabir Wisdom session at 12:30 Central with Shailesh Bhai Rambhai Bhakta from Southern California. ત્યારબાદ સોમવારે સાંજે 7 વાગે કપૂરાના વડીલોનો ભજનોનો રણકાર સાંજે 7 વાગે કપૂરા ગામના ફેસબુક પેજ ઉપર. ત્યારબાદ મંગળવારે ગીતમાલા 12 સાંજે 8 વાગે SRBS યુએસએના પેજ ઉપર. ત્યારબાદ 21મી માર્ચે ખરેખર નવો એક પ્રોગ્રામ, અમારો એક નવો પ્રયાસ છે, લિટલ ચેમ્પ ગીતમાલા. અમારી પાસે અત્યારે 17 જેટલા પાર્ટિસિપન્ટ છે જે 16 and under છે, અને you all will be amazed by this show of Little Champ on 21st. It starts at 7 p.m. on SRBS USA Facebook page. Right, 23 તારીખે સિયારલા ગામ સંગીત દિવાનીનો મ્યુઝિકલ ઇવેન્ટનો પ્રોગ્રામ છે. 27 તારીખે તરસાડી ગામનો પ્રોગ્રામ છે, તરસાડી ગામના ફેસબુક પેજ ઉપર. એપ્રિલની 10મીએ પથરાડિયા ગામનો પ્રોગ્રામ છે, પથરાડિયા PRK પરવાને. And our regular program, Geetmala, every Wednesday at 8 Pacific, 10 Central, hosted by SRBS of Southern California on SRBS USA Facebook page. We have something that we are planning for a few months now. As we started this cooking session, we are bringing you a celebrity chef on 27th Saturday. Time, name, and all those will be announced next week. But yes, we will have a celebrity chef on this session on 27th Saturday. That is confirmed. So stay tuned for that, and you all will love what we are bringing. Trust me. ત્યારબાદ we are bringing something extraordinary. Yesterday we have witnessed Mahila Pak Bhakta Samaj Bharat's event on women empowerment. We are bringing something special, as March is Women's History Month, and we have lots of women around us in SRBS, and they are a great example. They may not be serving SRBS, but what they do will motivate you and make you think that we have amazing women talent in SRBS. And once again, those information also will be provided later time. It is in planning, but it will happen in month of March here. ત્યારબાદ ખરેખર આપણે એક સમાજનું one of the finest person, trustee, late કરસનભાઈ લલ્લુભાઈ ભક્તા પથરાડિયા સુરત, જેમને આપણે ગુમાવ્યા છે. તો તેમના માટે શ્રી રામ કબીર ભક્ત સમાજ ઓફ USA એક શ્રદ્ધાંજલિ સભાનું આયોજન કરી રહ્યું છે, જેની પણ માહિતી આપને પાછળથી મોકલવામાં આવશે. So these are the future events. Please join us for Kabir Wisdom session tomorrow at 12:30 Central, and then all these events, as we have announced, we hope to see you all there. So thank you all once again. Thank you for joining. Special thanks to Facebook viewers, all the people who joined on Zoom here. Without you joining, asking questions, nothing can happen, and we love to have all the interactions and questions from you that can guide our future event as well. So we always love to have you. And thank you once again, Sheyna. Do you want to say something in the end, and then we can wrap this up?
I just wanted to say Ram Kabir and thank you to everyone, but the USA so much, everyone that tuned in.
All right, thank you. By the way, pleasure was SRBS of USA's. So thank you on behalf of SRBS. Thank you. All right, we'll end the session now, and I will join tomorrow again for Kabir Wisdom. Thank you all. Have a great afternoon, guys.